So I think now is the time to train women to become more successful. And I believe when women empower women, they become stronger.
A very warm welcome to our brand new series of Inspiring Women Leaders. With me, Ebere Akadiri. Today, I'm joined by Marian Spier. She is an entrepreneur and a university lecturer. She's also a consultant advising on tech, communication, and inclusion. She's previously worked for the United Nations, UNESCO, and the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She started the first female startup award program in the Netherlands and is the founder of TEDx Amsterdam Women and currently the founder of Femme Starts. She's been featured in Forbes and voted one of the most inspiring 50 women in tech in the Netherlands, and she has created spaces for women, millennials, and entrepreneurs in the Netherlands to have their voices heard. Marian, thank you for joining me. I don't know if you remember, we met for the first time during a TEDx Amsterdam Women that you organized in Amsterdam. And I was so proud of what you've created, and I tried to connect with you immediately. And so I'm so thrilled that you're here with me today. Thank you so much for coming. I would like to start my question by asking, about your career, about your personal story. Obviously, you've built a diverse portfolio of, businesses and projects and initiatives. Can you tell me more about your background and how you get to be where you are today?
Sure, I can. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I studied communications, and I've worked at advertising agencies in the beginning. Then a few years later, I worked for the Ministry of Traffic as a communications consultant. And after a while, I was tired of working in the communications field because I thought that, well, I'm a specialist now. I think I've learned enough and I wasn't challenged. So I applied online. I saw a job description of a manager at a university. And I thought I would never get the job, but I applied online. And I was invited to come and for the interview, and I got the job within half an hour to become the manager at the university.
Wow.
Yes, so for 8 years I was the head of a program called Content and Communications. That was in 2005 I started. At that time, there was not a lot of focus on online communications or online media, and I created that and built. We went from a group of 65 students to more than 400. And after 8 years, I thought it was more than enough, and I became an entrepreneur. And when I didn't know where to start. So I was a director of a film festival, and then I became a director of a design foundation. But later on, even while I was working there as an interim director, they were saying, I think you just should start your own business. You're not an interim person, who's going to. So I started my own business, and as a consultant. And I'm a social entrepreneur, so I consult governments, UN agencies, ministries on certain topics: gender, diversity, inclusion, entrepreneurship, but also youth. And it's going well. I've been traveling to 20 nations now the last 10 years. So I've seen it all, I think.
You're a global trotter.
Yes.
Wow, that's so good.
You could say cosmopolitan.
Yes, cosmopolitan. Okay, that's very good. I mean, looking at your journey, I would say you've taken up space in our world. And I'm sure there was a time you were, maybe, I'm just imagining that you could have struggled to kind of establish your voice. And So I just want to know, how did you take up this space where you are now a big influencer to our millennials and also entrepreneurs? And did you face any obstacle on your way?
Always, yes, yes. There are always closed doors, but I've learned a lot. I always say you need three people in your life. You need like a mentor, somebody who mentors you, who trains you. You need a sponsor, somebody who will promote you in your business, and you need a tribe. So while I was going through the motions, especially as an entrepreneur, and sometimes have closed doors, I would call up a mentor or somebody from my tribe and ask them for help. It could be mental help. It could be just like, hey, I need a new project, because now, do you know somebody who has a project for me? There have been times like that. Now I don't have to, but it has happened. And I've learned also from my friends who are entrepreneurs. They would say, don't worry, this is entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
You just have to manage the money well, and then it will be okay. And I've learned from that. I really learned from that, yes.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So you need three people in your life.
Three groups of people.
A mentor.
Yes.
A sponsor.
Yes.
And a tribe.
Yes.
This is interesting. I like to know more.
Yeah, well, I last year I was at a Silicon Valley trip, and there was a professor talking about it, and I remembered it. I was like, yes, this is true. I've had these people in my life, and some of them are mentors, some of them are sponsors. Yes, and I know my tribe. I know my best friends who I can always count on. And what you see, especially when people are when you're an entrepreneur, you're so focused on your sponsors, or you're so focused on your mentor, but you forget your best friends who have been there through thick and thin, and you need them too.
For our audience who are watching or listening to us at this time, and maybe they don't know how to find mentors or sponsors, how do you advise they go about finding them?
Yes, so don't be shy, ask for help. Also build relationships. Because what I've seen now, that people just come and they think that a relationship is something you have within a month, and then come the next email is a question for help. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Sometimes you build relationship for years, and then at a time where you really need that person the most, when you ask them, they're so willing to help you out because you've never asked them something. But also you can, sometimes you just need help. And I always tell people that I coach, like, look in your LinkedIn account, like what kind of people are in your link, the colleague you had a good relationship with, or your ex-colleague then, or your manager, like somebody who really influenced you. Have a coffee with them and start talking, because that's somebody who knows you very well and maybe can advise you how to move forward with your business or at your job.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, there's good in there. That's very great tip.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to ask, what has been the most vulnerable moment in your life as you rise to the top?
The most vulnerable, it's always difficult to manage a team. It looks very easy. So I've managed hundreds of women.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yes.
And at that time, sometimes you can become very, very vulnerable, because when you're a leader, there's always a spotlight on you. So you have to be very aware of what you do. And what I've learned is really to be really conscious of my actions. Because before I would just do stuff, and then you will hear somebody says something, you're like, oh my God, it was not my intention to hurt your feelings. So that is, yes, there is where I'm vulnerable the most as a leader, like really constantly thinking, how can I keep the group together? How can I inspire people to move forward as a team?
That's so touchy.
You're welcome.
Okay.
That takes years, years.
Yes,
You know?
yes, I know. I understand it.
Okay.
Women leaders are often judged more harshly than men. For example, you're not going to hear anybody say the man is bossy, but most times women are referred to as bossy, difficult, bitch, all of that. My question to you is, what's your leadership style?
So I manage. I don't manage everybody the same way. So what I do is I always listen to my team, because when I was a young manager many years ago, people would say, "You don't hear what I say," and I was like, "I hear what you say," but of course I wasn't really hearing what they were saying. So what I've learned is to listen like carefully to my team. When they say something, I reflect on what they're saying, and then I come back with feedback. And also another thing I've learned is always give feedback, and and after 3 strikes, you're out.
Yes.
That is something also that if you're very vocal about it, and people know where you stand, and you're very clear, in your communications, then they will accept it, your team.
You've been leading a network. I mean, now you are an established leader from doing these social networks, leading women. And I always tell Rise and Lead women that you can be a leader at any level. I advise them to lead from where they are. Maybe, for example, start taking care of our environment, driving social impact wherever you are, so that you can be noticed. So what would you advise for our women who are thinking that leadership is all about position and title? What would you advise that they start doing?
Yeah, so look, what are you passionate about? So I didn't start out my plan was not to become a leader. My plan was to create a platform for women, and after that I became a leader, so, and I was passionate about that. So where your passion is, you will act the most authentic way.
Yes.
So automatically people will receive you also as a leader.
It's all about passion. It's not about trying to copy what the next person is doing, but kind of self-awareness, right?
Yes.
And understanding your strengths and how you want to be perceived, so you can establish your leadership style and voice.
Yes.
That's very good. How is it important to build a network?
If you want to grow, like if you want to grow your business, if you want to grow within a company, if you want to grow in life, it is very important to build a network.
Okay.
And also it's important to open your eyes and to learn other stuff from people. When I started in the beginning, I said I didn't know a lot about sustainability. I didn't care about those things, like, eating less meat, or how do you handle your plastic, and like I always thought those people were too emotional. But when I started to learn more about these things, it opened my eyes, and it was because my network was expanding. And it could be about all kinds of subjects, not just sustainability, but also quality of life, equality. I didn't, as a child, I had a very amazing childhood, so I have not struggled a lot, which is, I'm very happy about it. I'm very thankful for my parents that they made my life very easy. But still, there are a lot of women who struggle. And so when you are in a network, you learn also about their situations. And the other way around also, I learned from very successful entrepreneurs. And then I can talk to them and say, how did you do that? Or we'll just ask them for a meetup and say, hey, can I meet with you? This is a problem I have. Or sometimes people just ask you, how can I help you? And then you need to have that clear question for them so that they can help you.
That's very good. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And what I hear you saying is people should learn to reach out and ask for help.
Yes.
From those who can help them.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So how did you establish your leadership confidence? I can see you're very confident, bold. Some women are saying, I'm not confident enough. I can't speak in public. I'm shy. how did you establish it, and what advice can you give to our women watching?
By listening to feedback. So I know my first speech in 2009, it was for TEDx Amsterdam, and one of the guys who was in charge of video, filming, he was a very famous director, but he came to me, he said, "You're too shy, you have to speak up more.
Okay.
You have to do this, or talk to the camera like this, or speak." So, and at one time I was speaking at a conference, and a friend of mine said, when we're like talking to each other, your energy is much stronger than when you stand in front of a platform. You don't smile. So I started to learn how to smile. Now it's part of me, but at that time I had to train myself to smile, because when I was nervous, I would, I would be so stressed, and people would think I was angry. So I had to learn that from a lot of feedback, and it helped me a lot. And also, confidence has to do with preparation.
Yeah.
You have to prepare for everything.
Wow, that's good. So, I believe that everything is learnable.
Yes.
And just from what you're saying, what would you advise our aspiring leaders when it comes to training? Do they need to attend any formal trainings to kind of develop themselves to become better leaders, or at least be able to achieve their ambitions?
Yes, so whatever you lack, you need to train. So I trained, I had so many English lessons just because I was working a lot internationally. I did how to give like speech lessons, like everything I lacked, I went for training. And you constantly learn. While you're growing in life, you see what you lack, and then you go for a training again.
Beautiful.
You have to invest in yourself.
I believe in that 100%.
Yes.
I believe in that a lot. So tell me about FemStarts. I saw you recently launched this initiative in Ghana, which is not far from my country, so I was so excited about it. Tell us a bit about FemStart.
Yeah, so FemStart is an intentionally inclusive program for female entrepreneurs, and we are based in the Netherlands and in Ghana. So the FemStart program in Ghana is focused on female entrepreneurs in Europe, and the FemStart program in Ghana is focused on female entrepreneurs in Africa. Okay. So the last 5 years I've organized startup competitions for female entrepreneurs, and I've discovered that a lot of them were lacking confidence and communication skills, like how to present your business, how to communicate with an investor, how to approach, how to network, and also just basic business skills. But we've seen the last 5 years that these women who took part in the program were really excelling. And after I stopped with TEDx last year, I said, I want to bring this on a more global scale, and I started a month, and now we are in 3 countries already. So wow. It's going so fast. March 17 I will be in Barcelona, and I will go to Lithuania. So I'm just talking to any female entrepreneur who wants to open a FemStart program in their country.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what would you say, what would you ascribe to the success of FemStart? You just launched and now you're in 3 countries.
I think one is, of course, a strong network. I have the help of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Economic Affairs, so they help me with the networking. But also because I've worked in a lot of countries, I have like almost in every country somebody I know I can ask to set it up. But also it's timing. Now there are a lot of discussions about access to finance, that a lot of female entrepreneurs are not receiving funding. But I just read today that one company received more funding than all the women in the world. So, and it went bankrupt. So I think now is the time to train women to become more successful. And I believe when women empower women, they become stronger.
Wow, I believe so as well. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
And for our audience watching who would love to participate in FemStart, how do you advise the join?
Yes, so we have a website. It is www.fem-start.com, and they can find all the information there.
Yeah, I'll check it out myself.
Okay.
And you said something that was quite exciting and interesting, that you stopped TEDx Women.
Yes.
I've never heard of that. Tell us about it.
I posted it a lot.
You've been running TEDx Women for 10 years.
Yes.
And you had to, and it was so successful. And now,
until now,
you you gave it up to someone else. So what's happening about TEDx Women now?
I don't know what they're doing because I really closed the chapter.
You've closed the chapter
for myself, yes,
wow.
to focus on something new. But
was that easy? Was that easy for you to let go of something you've been?
Yes. Because I believe that you have to move forward, and you have to give others the opportunity to grow. Because if you say that you want to empower women, you really have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Oh, that's good to know. It's good to know. And with all of these projects you're engaged in, I think you mentioned it earlier about self-care, your mental health and everything. How do you balance all the projects that you're engaged in, the travels, with also taking care of yourself?
Yes, so that is where my tribe comes in, and myself. I rest a lot. I rest. A lot of people think I don't, but I do in the weekends. During the weekends, I don't work. I really focus on taking good care of myself, have lots of massages.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes.
That's so good.
Yes.
And what tips would you give to our audience watching on self-care?
Yes, so I think just... a lot of people they always need to rush and to try to prove themselves. I believe that during the weekend, turn off your phone, like do things, you have a walk, have a coffee with a really good friend, talk about something completely different, than just work. And because not everybody has the money to go have massages all the time, but there are so many other ways to relax.
And before I let you go, I like to end by asking, if you could go back, what 3 pieces of advice would you give to your younger self going forward?
3 pieces of advice.
Yeah.
1, to relax. Yes. I knew that I would do things, but you're always so stressed about it. When is it going to happen? I think it has to do with age. When you become older, you become more relaxed, I think. 2 is follow a course in finance. Yes, because you have to make a lot. Yeah, as an entrepreneur, you have to make decisions constantly about finance. So that is something I would like. I never liked it, but now I know everything about my finances, and so I would advise my younger self to do that. And 3rd, yes, to not overthink everything. Sometimes just go with the flow, but that has to do with relax again. So yeah.
That's very good, very excellent.
Thank you.
Relax, don't overthink it, and follow a course on finance for female entrepreneurs. This is so beautiful.
Very important.
And so many tips out here. And for you watching us, I hope you are going to take these tips to rise and lead wherever you are in your business, in society, or even in your workplace. And thank you for watching, and see you next time.